Mr. President, when I voted against the original passage of the PATRIOT Act in 2001, and I plan to vote against the reauthorization of these expiring provisions this week, unless we implement some reforms that will sensibly restrain these overly broad provisions. Simply put, again, to make the point that the senator from Oregon made so importantly, I believe that Congress is granting powers to the executive branch that lead to abuse and, frankly, shield the executive branch from accountability. There have been 10 years since we first passed this law, and there's been very little opportunity to improve the law. And I just resist this rush to, again, rubber stamp policies that threaten the very liberty that we hold dear. I recently supported short-term extensions of the expiring provisions before us as a bridge to take time and debate and amend the PATRIOT Act and its controversial provisions. But we were notified, unfortunately, just a few days ago that we'd be voting on a 4-year extension of these expiring provisions, and that's just not the way to ensure that Americans, that we're diligently considering these important public decisions. In Federalist 51, James Madison, who we venerate, who was the author of many of the documents that structure and way in which we organize and operate our democracy, he wrote, quote, "In framing a government which is to be administered by men over men, the great difficulty lies in this. You must first enable the government to control the governed, and in the next place, oblige it to control itself." The bill before us does not live up to that standard, and I believe it seriously risks the constitutional freedoms of our people. We need to strike a better balance between giving our national security and law enforcement officials the tools necessary to keep us safe while not damaging the very Constitution we have sworn to support and defend. By passing an unamended reauthorization, we are assuring that Americans will live with the status quo for 4 more long years. And I believe this bill may well be a lost opportunity to improve the balance between our security and our civil liberties. That's not the result that our founding fathers envisioned, and it's not a result that our constituents want. And for these reasons, if the PATRIOT Act provisions are not amended, I plan to vote no on the motion to invoke cloture and on passage of S. 1038. Before I yield the floor, Mr. President, I want to make one last historical reference. Ben Franklin, one of our founding fathers, said compellingly and presciently, he said, "A society that would sacrifice essential liberties for short-term security deserves neither." I think that's the question before us. There's a way forward. There's a way to keep the PATRIOT Act in place to protect our national security, but also to protect our essential liberties. But in order to do that, we have to have a chance to debate and pass these important amendments. Mr. President, I yield the floor.